My name is Joshua Slusher, and I'm a fish biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service at the Ashland Fish and Wildlife Conservation Office in Wisconsin. Today I'll be talking about the 2021 Lake Superior Lake Sturgeon Index Survey, and this survey also occurred in 2011 and 2016 in conjunction with CSMI. Today I'll be giving this presentation on behalf of the Lake Sturgeon Work Group, which consists of about 20 agencies around Lake Superior. And since the index survey development, my role has been to coordinate field efforts among all the contributing agencies, as well as compile all the data into reports and give presentations such as this one. I do want to mention that we're working on some of the aging data yet, so it's possible that some results could change in the future. I'd like to start out by recognizing all the agencies who contributed to this cooperative effort. The agencies range from Canadian, provincial, and federal agencies to U.S. state and federal agencies, and then a whole number of tribal and First Nation natural resources departments. A lot of these agencies have contributed all the way back to 2011, and really this list encompasses most of the fishery agencies on Lake Superior. I'd also like to specifically recognize some extra work that Bill Gardner and his team at DFO have done in processing some of the Canadian samples, and also Josh Mutchler with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for getting all the data entered for us. Here's a map to remind everybody of the 19 current and extirpated populations that are the focus of lake sturgeon rehabilitation efforts in Lake Superior, and also the locations where the Lake Sturgeon Index Survey occurred. You'll see I have these populations roughly grouped into 3 regions, which is based off of genetic similarity and some of the work that Amy Welsh had done. One recent change to this map is we've pulled out populations that were reintroduced by stocking, and you'll see those at the St. Louis River and the Ontonagon River. As it's currently written in the index survey protocol, we have 3 main objectives. The first is to describe the current lake-wide status of lake sturgeon, focusing primarily on those ages between 4 and about 15, which is that juvenile and subadult classes. The second one, to establish an index of relative abundance for juveniles and subadults in order to monitor their recruitment, year class strength, and population trends over time. And number 3 is to describe and compare biological characteristics, both within and among locations, and see how those change over time. However, as we've worked to develop the FCO indicators a little bit better over the last couple of years, we've shifted this focus primarily towards that age 4 to 8 group. As many of you are aware, we've been working to develop and refine the FCO indicators over the last couple of years. And the 2 we came up with for sturgeon were for adult abundance and measurable recruitment. For adult abundance, we're looking for 1,500 total adults in a population, or 400 adults in an annual spawning run estimate. The one that the index survey focuses on is measurable recruitment. Here we have a target of 0.5 geometric mean CPUE in that cohort of ages 4 to 8 in the index survey. But we do also want to see parallel trends in other complementary independent lake sturgeon surveys. As a reminder, we also have several criteria in the lake sturgeon rehabilitation plan for self-sustaining populations. And the 2 that the index survey really focuses on is number 4 and 5, where we want to see evidence of annual recruitment and also a measurable recruitment of ages 0 to 5. So really these last 2 slides were just to show you why the index survey is important for evaluating lake sturgeon populations in Lake Superior. As we move into the survey results, I'll briefly refresh everybody on our survey methods. So the nets we use for the index survey are 1,000-foot long monofilament, and they consist of 3 different mesh sizes: 4.5 inch, 8 inch, and 10 inch. Also, we set the nets in between 15 and about 50 feet of water, so really this is a nearshore survey. Also, at each location we have a target of 16 net sets. My next 6 figures all have the same format, so I'll briefly go over how these figures are laid out. You can see I've got all the tributaries grouped into the 3 different genetic regions, and also from top to bottom I have the years 2021, 2016, and 2011. In this particular figure, it shows our netting effort for all 3 years. And in general, you can see that we met our target of 16 net sets per location in most years. Those locations where we fell short has primarily been due to bycatch issues, some weather issues, and then less common were breakdown or mechanical issues. Some of the locations where we have bycatch issues are primarily at the Black Sturgeon and Wolf River, where there's quite a bit of walleye bycatch, and so they've actually moved to timed day sets to reduce some of that bycatch. Also, we have issues at the Gravel River with coastal brook trout, and then bycatch issues at St. Louis River. So we did fall short in a couple years, but overall, I'm very pleased with the effort that everybody was able to put out. This figure shows the total catch of lake sturgeon, not accounting for effort. On the top right, you can see the total catch by year, and in 2021 we had a total of 480 lake sturgeon caught, which is quite a bit higher than the other years at 303 and 365. One of the things that really stands out in this figure is some of the high catch locations. At the Gully River, there was nearly 170 sturgeon caught this year. The Pick and the White, there's a good number of fish. The Bad River, the Ontonagon River, there's currently a stocking program going on in the Ontonagon, so that could be attributing to some of those higher catches. But one of the things I want to point out is we have two locations where zero fish have been caught, and those are at the Nipigon and the Gravel in the northern region. There's also a handful of locations where we're looking at single-digit catches. Those are at the north entry to the Sturgeon River, the Pigeon River, and the Tequamanon. The Cam River also had a little bit of a higher catch this year with 14 fish, where in previous years it had been about 1. Here's a figure for the geometric mean catch per unit effort for all lake sturgeon. And this figure basically mirrors the previous image for total catch, which doesn't come as much of a surprise. One thing that really stands out within a location is the consistency of catches among the 3 different years. And that can be seen by the overlapping 95% confidence intervals. The only location where we saw yearly differences was at the Ontonagon River, and that can probably be attributed to the timing of stocking events. One thing that this figure does not address is, are we meeting the FCO indicator for measurable recruitment of age 4 to 8 fish? Here I'm going to break down the geometric mean catch per unit effort into that age 4 to 8 year classes so that we can directly get at, are we meeting our FCO indicator of greater than 0.5? And you can see on the figure I've got a dashed vertical line at 0.5. And the locations where we were greater than that are at the Bad River, the Ontonagon River, the Wolf and the Black Sturgeon, the Pick and the White, Mishpacotton, the Gully. There's also a couple locations that had confidence intervals greater than 0.5 at the south entry to the Sturgeon River, at the Cam River, and the Batchewana River. So as I was looking at all the data, I wanted to simply ask, are we meeting the FCO indicator for catch per unit effort of age 4 to 8? Is it greater than 0.5? So to answer this question, what I did was I took the mean catch per unit effort at a location among all the 3 different years. So I plotted those on this figure, and you can see I've got the dashed vertical line showing that 0.5 mark. As a quick reminder, those locations with a green circle are current populations, those with a red square are extirpated populations, and the purple triangle are stocked populations. So all of these areas that have a green check mark had a catch per unit effort greater than 0.5. There could be an argument made for Batchewana. It was just barely above, but I gave it a check mark anyways. One thing you may notice is that there's some locations that have current populations that did not meet the 0.5 mark, such as the St. Louis River, north and south entry to the Sturgeon River, the Cam River, the Nipigon. And one thing that these tributaries have in common is they have large estuary areas. The St. Louis obviously has a large estuary. The Sturgeon River has Portage Lake and the Keweenaw Waterway. We know the Cam River has a river resident population. So one thing that we should consider is incorporating other independent surveys into evaluating if we're meeting this 0.5 indicator. I do want to urge a little bit of caution with this 0.5 number because we came up with this number using this exact data set from 2011 and 2016. I do, however, feel it's a good mark to shoot for because a lot of our current populations met or exceeded this 0.5, but all of our extirpated populations did not meet this number. In this last figure, I just want to give you some idea of the size structure of the sturgeon that we're catching. On the figure, you can see a grade band between 500 and 850 millimeters, and this is the approximate size of those age 4 to 8 lake sturgeon. While there's nothing really important in this figure, I did want to point out that some of these locations with higher catches, such as the Goolie, the black sturgeon and wolf, the pick and the white, Bishop of Cotton, Bad, Ontonagon, a lot of these locations had higher catches of younger fish. One of the locations that we still see very little recruitment is at the St. Louis River. There's a lot of larger fish, probably as a result of stocking from 20 and 30 years ago, but we still haven't seen the recruitment kick in from that population. So what are the next steps for the Lake Sturgeon Index Survey? Well, we currently have an interagency agreement with West Virginia University to process all the genetic samples collected, where we hope to assign a tributary of origin to all the lake sturgeon samples. And this will be done through Amy Welsh's lab. On the US side, we have a little bit of fin rate aging left to do. I believe the Canadian side has completed all their samples. Also, when we developed this survey back in 2011, we knew that we wanted to get at least 3 good years of data before we did an evaluation of the survey. And so here we are, 3 rounds in, and I believe now is a good time to evaluate this survey. So I believe there'll be a special edition in IAGLR for CSMI projects. So I envision this publication will have a combination of biological results and an evaluation of the survey methods. Thank you for your attention, and I will be available to take any questions.